Overall, I kind of dig it, but it could be.
Son, what are you watching there?
Well, Dad, it's Larry Arts Productions, home to many types of content, including stop motions, reviews, unboxings, and other types of videos.
I knew getting the internet for my kid was a mistake. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. We have now left that of what some call the unique aspect of the regular season. So many tracks, so many different disciplines, but we are now on the second half of the season and the final push to see who's making the playoffs. We got done with an incredible race last week at Japan at that of the Fuji Grand Prix, but tonight we're back to tradition. It's mile-and-a-half racing for the Armadillas. Keep digging. 225 here at Kansas. 150 laps of drivers getting themselves prepared for what could be utter chaos. We can't wait to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer, and joining me for this adventure here tonight going to be Zach Hall. Zach, we had a great run last week at Fuji where we got to see that Nick Crawford back into victory lane, but tonight seems to be a different beast that these drivers have to handle.
It really was some fantastic Fuji action, but like you said, a different beast for sure. This multi-groove mile-and-a-half race course here at the Kansas Speedway is going to perplex these drivers tonight. It's going to put them in a weird predicament, choosing which lane will be the best at which certain times, and it's really going to be a battle of track position once those tires start to wear out. So I think the drivers should have a lot on hand here tonight to try to figure out how they're going to master this race course. I tell you, this group is always wild. I expect another wild showing here tonight.
And tonight going to be the second to last race for our playoffs, as only 16 drivers are going to be eligible to make it in the playoffs to hunt and go to that of clashing for a championship. We've got tonight at Kansas, then it's next week where the drivers will have their last regular season race at Bristol. And currently right now, our top 16 drivers looking pretty solidified. The bubble driver, Christopher Norris, with a 12-point advantage over Eric Stamp, then a 14-point advantage over that of Matt Upbrook, and as well 14-point advantage over Jonathan Schmitz, who some of these rookies trying to make it in their first playoffs, and some drivers trying to stay in contention to say they were in almost every playoffs for their career. Some they've been in the playoffs for every single race. For the drivers that have won all of them so far in our top 20, so it means every driver that has won so far this season locked into the playoffs, as we've had so far a total of 7 of them here this season. And currently right now, drivers are in qualifying, getting themselves stacked up on where they're going to be on track for today's 150 lap distance here at Kansas, as we see one of those drivers that's outside looking in the point standings, the 15 of Matt Upbrook. Zach, points are now going to be the talking point for tonight and going into that of next week.
It's getting down to crunch time, Sam. You got to be able to accumulate those points to position yourself to possibly get into those playoffs. It's going to start getting really, really tight here soon, and tonight could be the way you start it all off. Like we said, we're in the second half of this regular season, and you need what you can here tonight. So I think a good qualifying run here. Obviously, see the 15 trying to make the most out of his qualifying time here. You got to have a good one, because this track is going to be very much a track position race. The first 10 to 15 laps, in my opinion, will be somewhat of a wild card, with you being able to run the bottom, the middle, the top groove. And then after that, in my opinion, I think it's all going to start to trickle up to that top side groove once these tires start to wear. So passing's going to get tough 15 laps into the run. And if you're not able to qualify well, you're going to have to figure out how to get those passes done very quickly.
Currently, right now, Matt Upbrook brushing the wall, and that is not a good time. This was going to be his fastest lap to put down. Currently 29th on the board, and with that brush against the wall, it will invalidate this last lap that he had for himself. Another driver that's out on track for their last lap going to be that of Jordan Schmitz once we see that of the 15 cross the line. But other drivers trying to get themselves prepared for as top as they can get. GT Rosari, who's going to be 18th, but here comes the 4, Jordan Schmitz, with that of 15 seconds left in qualifying. He's hoping this is a fast time. He's going to be the slowest of all the drivers on that first lap. The second one, hoping to advance to go into our top 20, not able to do so. 26th will be the best for that of the 4 machine, as qualifying is done. It is a pleasure to give you the coverage here for that of the ISRC, wrote that of Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. Go on over to Race Car Graveyard on Instagram to go find a way to purchase your diecast if you want to start collecting today. New, used, and as well custom, ready now. And with your purchase, use the code RCGY for 10% off on your next purchase. qualifying is done. Let's take a look at where they're going to be starting here tonight at Kansas. As top of the top of the board, driver that has been fast and looking for another win this season. It's going to be that of Mark Whitley in the 77. Second to his outside going to be Nick Crawford. Joshua Kanata going to be in that of third position. Trent Jump going to be in fourth. John Forbes in fifth, with Cody Reed in sixth. Seventh goes Ethan Smith, Cedric Hunter in eighth, Noah Steele ninth, and finishing our top 10 going to be that of Ryan Crowfoot.
In the 11th position is going to be the 98 of Malik Kuntz. 12th is going to be the 2 of Danny Cochran. 13th is going to be Ryan Ferraro with Tyler Dingler starting 14th. 15th is going to be Austin Halsey with the 94 Joshua Altis starting 16th. 17th is going to be Christopher Norris. 18th is going to go to GT Irizarry. 19th is Ali Fonseca, and rounding out the top 20, it's Zachary Peterson.
21st going to be Martin Morales Jr., going to be in that 21st position. 22nd is going to be Logan Bricky. Eric Stamp going to be in 23rd. Tyler Horn in 24th, with that of Justin Smith in 25th. Jordan Smeets, one of the drivers that we are going to be noted on to watch out for to point his way into the playoffs. Going to be starting deep in the field in 26th position. 27th is going to be that of Jonathan Smith. Let's put Moniz in 28th. That of John McAdams in 29. 30, it's going to be Matt Upbrook. And the final 3 drivers going to be that of Cody Smith, Joshua Farid, and Jesse Thornock. Going to be your 33 drivers here tonight. A big field, Zach, and I think that's the one thing that a lot of drivers, the last couple of 5 races, it's been very much tracks that drivers either had to purchase to run at or just decided, I'm going to step away from and then come back for the second half of the season.
Yeah, we've seen the numbers go back up, and I think that has to do with, like you said, some tracks people not owning and just feeling, hey man, I don't feel comfortable with that track, they're not going to go to it, so they just decided to not head there. And with Kansas being on the schedule, this is a track that most people, all of them that compete in the NASCAR oval side of things, own. So I'm not surprised to see those numbers go back up, and it's going to be fun because the field being this big and this track being this much of a multi-groove, really racy surface when these first couple laps kick off, I'm expecting a lot of different things going on throughout this field. There could be some fireworks flying here early in this evening.
It certainly can be. Tonight at Kansas, the drivers, like I noted on, 150 laps going to be ran. Our stage break going to be at the end of lap 60. No fast repairs and 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. Drivers have said this racing is going to be on top of one another at all times, expecting full throttle racing action for at least the first 10 to 15 laps. Could even be 30 laps. I mean, that of 20 laps, excuse me, where drivers are going to be on top of one another, practically looking like they're drafting. So drivers have to be aware of one another. Practice showed that it could be complicated at times. You're going to need your virtual or real life spotter to let you know when you're clear or what big moves to make, because the pace car is off and we are green here tonight for the Armadillas. Keep digging. 225 at Kansas. Here tonight, it's Mark Whitley, Nick Crawford heading down into turn number 1.
Side by side for that lead position, but it's going to be the push from the 16 of Kanata that's going to propel the 77 forward here, and that inside line is going to be the dominant way to go here early in the going with all the throttle time and grip coming from down low.
Drivers bump drafting at this current time. Kanata trying to keep it close, but drivers staying up front as that is Trent Jump going to get a little bit loose there for the 46. Cold tires showing already to be aware, and drivers already scattering as they come across the line. 2, 3, and some thinking about even 4, 5 wide deeper in the field.
Ooh, close action there, Sam, for sure. Everybody trying to make moves here, and Jump was the first one to have the rear end kick out. And you're going to see that on these restarts. Cold tires, especially down in 3 and 4, that truck is going to want to over-rotate, and he had a great job of catching that slide and heads-up move by everybody, just navigating by at 46 as he lost a ton of spots.
Lost a ton of spots. Started in 4th place, down to 13th as you're seeing drivers utilizing the apron. A lot of drivers ducking low to cut down that distance on this track. All the way down low is the shortest way around. That's why drivers are attempting all these impressive moves as we're riding on board the 16. And it's going to be seeing Joshua Kanata trying to hold his line as in a little bit of drafting help from both smash between the Blackjack Racing drivers.
Let's see right here, early in this field fighting for the bottom, and that's going to be the place to go right now. But as this run continues on, you're going to start to see them fight for the top. And I think the one thing you brought up during the pace lap is these drivers aren't going to get away from each other. This track is very draft dependent. I mean, at these moments right now, you're almost wide open on the throttle, not even having to necessarily crack the throttle. So you're going to see these drivers not have the chance to get away from each other too easily. And right now, it's seeming like that's the case as we got a long line of trucks forming.
A long line of drivers forming up, and all the way to the top already is the pink machine of the 13 is Cedric Hunter. I mean, Cedric almost bouncing off the outside of the wall in the exit. Got to be careful. The 13's obviously already searching for the speed, as he does not want to be playing and staying in line with the drivers and where they're at right now, as again, you see him going all the way to the outside wall, and Zach certainly trying to make this move work, as he is trying to move his way forward the best that he can. But also for the lead, there's some battling side by side. It's the two most winnish drivers of this season. Both have 2 wins and both trying to lead this lap. It's John Forbes on the outside, Mark Whitley on the bottom. As they slide across, it's going to be the 11 leading that lap.
Last time we were here at Kansas 2 seasons ago for season number 2, this is number 11, set on the pole position, led the opening portion of the race, and he had a lot of speed, but had some mistakes that took him out of contention for the win. And right here, he's having a battle, but it's even a great battle here. We're still having that battle back there around the 11th position. That is still just, 3 wides at moments, as off of turn 2, or sorry, off of 4, that 77 is falling back because that outside's coming to life.
It really is starting to come alive. It's the 13 going to be forcing it 3 wide in the entry of turn 1. Still going to be a slightly stacked 3 wide, as the 94, haven't seen him in a while. It's Joshua Altis who's trying to stay inside of the top 10. The 94 excited to see what he's going to bring. His drivers almost making contact. The 12 going to be Crowfoot. Get backing out of that situation.
Had to back out very quickly there, and that could have been a dire situation for sure for all those drivers around, but luckily they keep it together. You see Trenton Jump trying to make his rebound back forward after that big slide on lap number 1. He's on the back bumper of the 13, and even maybe looking to go to that middle groove here as he gets some clean air on that nose. But you can see right now that 13's carrying a ton of speed up top, and I think the more laps that we click off here, especially around lap 10 to 15, everybody's going to be venturing to that top side.
What advantages are we seeing? Yes, we're seeing the 13 moving up very well at this current time, but as he's trying to hold in 8th place, the question is, what are those tires going to look like longer in the run? We always see these 1.5 miles. It usually stay as low as you can on the white line and then gradually move up, but Zach, the 13, immediately went to the top, now deciding to move to the bottom, as we're seeing Danny Cochran trying to make his way forward in the 2 machine, getting by that of Crowfoot, and now attacking the 8 Armadillas Racing driver of the number 8 machine, and Noah Steele.
It is something that is very interesting, in my opinion, to see that 13 go immediately to the wall, because the first couple laps, in my opinion, you should be on the bottom. It just is where the most speed is at. And normally when we go to 1.5 mile tracks, the bottom side is the side of the track that actually produces the best tire wear, but not necessarily here at Kansas. This progressive banking is very aggressive. That high side has a ton of banking, as you see Cody Reed make a really good maneuver there to take that position for Mark Whitley. That outside groove has a ton of banking added to it with the progressive banking, and it really helps you utilize those tires at a much easier pace. You do carry more speed, but with that banking added there, it really lets you let the wheel out and not have to turn that truck as much, which really doesn't scrub the tires or the speed.
Well, 2 drivers that are okay with bumping elbows between one another. It's 2nd and 3rd place right now, as it's going to be Nick Crawford, winner from last week at Fuji, getting his elbows out, almost making contact with a 0-0 of that of Ethan Smith. It's going to be the Blackjack drivers, John Forbes, Ethan Smith, Cody Reed. What a strong run we're seeing from these drivers that we've seen perform so well at these 1.5 miles, and they're doing it once again. But it's Nick Crawford, the lone snowy desert driver, as he's hoping his teammate Cedric Hunter will get in the mix here very quickly.
That he does. This track can be a place that you can utilize that teammate work, the drafting, the pushing, and helping of your teammate drivers, such as letting them just in line, can be a huge factor when it comes to these racing surfaces like this 1.5 mile here, especially at the nighttime time of day here we have. That adds more grip, more speed, and makes that drafting even that much more a bigger factor. As you see Crawford finally able to clear that 0-0, and it's starting to stack up behind Ethan Smith, though, as he's got his teammate Reed and Kanata with the 13 all over his back bumper.
Joshua Kanata trying his best to hold on in 5th position, as his pack racing very aggressive around one another. He talked about the fact that we were expecting drivers to move up. Well, they've done so. Cedric Hunter trying to fit in a slot where there really isn't enough room for that truck to be, but at least getting a slight little bit of aero help They're going to be side by side, almost 3 wide now as the 13 continues to feel good up against that wall. He's not touching it, but there is just a little bit of a slit of air saving him between Carnage and Speed.
There is. Look, he's going to jump to the outside of Cody Rear in the one. That's going to be close action. He's going to drive it in deep to the outside, and that's what you got to do here at this track. You got to find that ability to get to the right rear quarter panel. The 13 did an excellent job there. That's going to put him up into the top 5. And the only driver I'm really seeing make a move still in the bottom, able to work, is that 16 of Kanata we see ahead of him. He made an excellent move here in 3 and 4 to clear Cody Rear on the bottom, and that's going to be the ability that allows you to be able to pass. And up front, we're even having a battle with Nick Crawford trying to pass John Forbes now.
Trying to make the passes, the 74. He's also been a driver that's kind of started to master that dive bomb elite apex, diving down low. Here comes Ethan Smith, going to be to the inside, trying to find an opening to slide his way back up. Won't find it, so he'll be trapped on the inside. Look for any type of help, but it's just going to be Nick Crawford utilizing the draft, and here he goes, trying for the lead once again on the entry turn 3.
And just ain't not able to clear here. It's going to be the momentum to the top side for the 11 of John Forbes, and he's going to hold on to that top position. And here comes Kanata in the 16 along with the 13, and it just shows you, if you go for that maneuver and try to go to the bottom side and make it, you have to clear, because if you don't, you're going to get trained up here with all these trucks lining up on the top groove.
Joshua Kanata, one of the highest runners when you look at the rookie class that came into this season. It has been a tough class of just trying to find consistency, as the 16 trying to have one of his best runs so far this season as it comes into tonight. His best run previously was at Twin Ring Motegi, where he came away in 3rd place, but that was all the way back in race number 5. We're currently in race number 10 of the season, and this 16 looking for some consistency due to the fact that we're back to those more traditional racetracks where some of these drivers have had their better runs.
No doubt, Kanata showed a lot of speed at these mile and a half early in the season. I'm not surprised to see him right back in the mix once again up here. As you can see, Mark Whitley, he's trying to utilize the bottom still here and go and make the pass here on Ethan Smith. But I just don't think it's going to be enough here off of 4, because it's going to be Smith and Reed, those 2 teammates lined up. And hopefully if Whitley can slide up behind him, but he's going to cut the apron, shorten the distance, and he's going to stay to the inside of this here. Oh, the wreck
up front! Cedric Hunter thought he was clear. He was not clipping, and carnage of drivers just piling in. They cannot slow down, and it goes from bad to worse with a first caution on lap 18.
Oh, man, that is tough to see for the lead up there, and drivers are going to be having destroyed trucks. I mean, so many required damage flags. Danny Cochran, John Forbes, Cedric Hunter, Ali Fonseca, Christopher Norris, Joshua Altis, Austin Halsey, and it just shows you everybody fighting for that top lane, and everything comes together right when you enter that corner, and we have a huge incident in 1.
I mean, we've seen Cedric Hunter trying his best, but this kind of started even on the middle of 3 and 4 for those drivers, with John Forbes just got a bad run through that of 3 and 4, but we're getting the replay up, and those lists of drivers, no one has a fast repair to work with. They are stuck. Now all these drivers are going to have to sit in pit road. Luckily, it started early enough where they could have the time to repair and get back out there on track, but Austin Halsey, John Forbes, Ollie Fonseca, Cedric Hunter, Danny Cochran, that of Joshua Altis, Christopher Norris, all with required damage flags. They are forced to come into pit road, and we're already potentially going to see some drivers call it a night just 18 laps in. And I mean, just carnage that I don't think anyone could have predicted. But again, out of the exit of turn 4, John Forbes has already scrubbed off the wall, and here comes the 13 with the better momentum.
Better momentum indeed. He's going to jump out to the high side and almost get to the quarter panel here of the 11. And it's kind of an interesting little dance here between these two, because you can see the 11 trying to cover it off. Cedric Hunter still going to the outside there, and right now is finally to that outside. And you're going to see that the 16 coming up here. I don't know if the 11 kind of got spooked by the 16 coming up, and it just kind of all comes together there at the 13's nose there. And man, oh man, just a major incident there that kind of led to a lot of drivers here getting into each other after the fact. Like you said, Sam, they just did not get slowed down. You see Altis coming to the picture here and kind of T-bone rear end the 13 there. And I think even Fonseca comes in pretty hard here in the 24 as Danny Cochran has nowhere to go.
Has nowhere to go. And then they slide down the track where drivers are trying to get out of the way, but there's just no spots for them. Seeing some drivers just bouncing off the wall. There's Austin Halsey in the colorful machine. Christopher Norris nowhere to go for his lids 38, and Couple of other drivers getting some scrapes and bruises as it is 20th all the way to that of 33rd position, staying in pit road for extended time for damage repairs. And oh, that is a tough pill to swallow for some of these drivers. But if you're some of these top drivers, such as Mark Whitley or that of John Forbes, you're thinking, oh, if John Forbes wasn't caught up in that big of a mess, but if you're Mark Whitley, Joshua Kanata, Nick Crawford, those that were able to get away from that incident, this is set up perfectly for you to have a great finish here tonight with the amount of carnage that showed up.
We just had a lot of contenders taken out by that wreck, so they are definitely sitting there, I think, Sam, saying, this is better our chances for sure. I mean, it's going to bring new drivers up in here into the fray, and we would not be surprised to see a few other drivers bring their names up into a possible winning category, but it definitely makes things easier when the couple of the top trucks out there get involved in incidents like that. And man, this is setting up again. We've seen races like that this season where we've had some of the fastest trucks just not be able to make it to the finish, and it's opened up the door for certain drivers to go out there and get wins. You got to always be ready for it. You can never know when your opportunities around the next corner, and right here it's presented itself to a few of these drivers.
Still in pit road, getting damage repair, Cedric Hunter, Danny Cochran, Austin Halsey. Joshua Altus has stepped away. He's expected to get back in the car once those repairs are done. Ole Fonseca, the first official DNF of tonight. Up front, Mark Whitley, Joshua Kanata, everyone came into pit road for that of tires and fuel, it looked like, except for the 77, and also the 15, decided to go with fuel only for themselves. Let's see what 18 lap difference on tire rubber is going to look like for that of Mark Whitley and Joshua Kanata.
This will be interesting for sure, Sam. We'll see how the difference is made here, but already a great start from Mark Whitley. But Kanata, you can see he's getting swarmed. Nick Crawford, Ethan Smith here are going to have the huge advantage on the fresher tires, and they're going to look to go straight around the outside here of the 77 and carry that momentum down here to the corner. And with this caution, it has opened up the door. They should be all good on fuel to make it to the end of this stage.
End of the stage, end of lap 60 for these drivers, so they've got plenty of time to get to that point, which will be our lap stage break, as Mark Whitley goes straight down low to where he's been feeling the most comfortable. Everyone else rolls through the outside, and now we're top 5. Nick Crawford, Ethan Smith, Joshua Kanata, Cody Reed, Noah Steele. Wild to think. And then to the top 10, some of our bigger movers, gonna be that of John McAdams, Tyler Dangler, both just outside our top 10.
Definitely cool to see a few of these drivers taking advantage of other people's mishaps and putting themselves now in a position here to have a great run when it comes to this racetrack here tonight. And we haven't seen it stop yet. I mean, we're only on lap 24 of 150. A lot of other drivers could be taken out, and we could see again some of those drivers around the 10th to 15th place positions really be up in here in the mix by the end of this race is over. So Kansas has that opportunity with the wild racing drafting style it is here, multi-groove action, everybody fighting for the top side once the tires wear out. It has that ability to be one of those races where it can be somewhat, wreck filled.
That it certainly can be, as we're right on board with Matt Upbrook in a shot of in front of them. That's going to be 12th, 11th, and 10th, battling with one another as Mark Whitley continues to go backwards. Matt Upbrook, another one of those drivers that is on just taking fuel for himself, and John McAdams. I mean, what a run for himself as he gets by that Mark Whitley, towing Tyler Dangler, and one of the drivers that kind of gets lost from that of the Blackjack Racing team, that of going to be, John McAdams winning at Talladega back in season 2, one of his high moments is 47 inside the top 10, looking for one of his best finishes of the season.
47 has definitely had some great moments and some low moments for sure for him, but we could see him make up for that here tonight at Kansas. So I'll just watch how that plays out. But the 20 here, back here, Jesse Thornick back here in 15th. He's battling with Justin Smith here, and these guys are right on the fringe here in this top 15, and they could be looking for some good runs. And we were talking about points. A lot of these drivers around this area are all drivers looking for points here late in the season.
And due to the fact that Christopher Norris, who was the bubble driver, he came in 16th in points, he is the driver that is mainly here just puttering along. He was on the outside of these drivers' pass, but that 38, due to the fact that he was caught up in that big wreck and he is way off the pace compared to everyone else, this is a big surge that you can be seeing for Matt Upbrook, who's trying to close in the gap to make himself have an opportunity to make it into the points wise, as well as Eric Stamp, who's hoping for a better run. But sadly for Stamp, he was caught up in that mess. So it's up to that of going to be the 15 as well as the 4 trying to make a hero run for themselves.
The concern I have for that 38 there we just saw is he is so off the pace that I think that engine's going to probably let go at some point. Usually when it's that terminal, there's usually some engine damage laying inside of that motor, and it usually ends up making itself worse running on it. So I'm surprised maybe he got all the required damage and still has some optional left and is just trying to make laps. But yeah, if he blows up, that's going to open up the door, like you said, Sam, for a lot of drivers to make up those points on that bubble spot. And oh, here comes Tyler Horn in the 26. He's making a big run to the inside of the 5 there.
Tyler Horn was in pit road, got damage repairs, and he is currently 1 lap down, trying to catch up to Eric Stamp to be the lucky dog driver. That's why we're seeing such aggressive driving from that of the 26, while the rest of the drivers in this group still just trying to run their own race. Some of these drivers still dealing with damage, such as that of Dakota Moniz. Slight damage for himself. Joshua Freed behind him decided to just take fuel only. And I think that's the one thing that's interesting as we are coming up to the halfway marker of stage 1 for these drivers, is the fact that there were about 3 or 4 drivers deciding just to take fuel only, trying to save an extra set for later in this race, where the rest of the drivers decided to take tires. And I think taking tires is a smart decision if you're looking to maximize your points here tonight.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, you want to get as many points as possible here, you got to take tires, because those old tires are just going to really catch you out. I mean, looking at someone who didn't take tires here, Mark Whitley, his last time by was a 32.22 to the leader's 31.64. So I mean, you're looking right there at about 6 to 8 tenths of a second difference between 2 different trucks on 2 different strategies, and that adds up over time. Luckily for Mark Whitley, I think the case will play out where he shouldn't have the threat of going a lap down here unless something major bad happens to him. And he will have that opportunity to have the extra set of tires. But if we have a somewhat green race here, it's going to be hard to make up all that track position with a track like this.
Also, one thing I was thinking about was track position. They're going deeper in the field, and we've seen this happen with Mark before, where he's given up track position, he gets put deeper in the field, and then he gets caught up into incidences where he just gets a little bit over aggressive. He's even said this if you watch the long run, which gave background information on that of these drivers' playoffs back for season 3. And 77 even said that was one of his weaknesses, is when he's in traffic, he seems to be driving a little bit over his head at times and getting himself into trouble very quickly. As we balance up front, this is the battle for that 3rd place. Ethan Smith and Cody Reed, teammates for 3rd position.
Battling up here still, and they've all now elected to go to that top side groove here. Nick Crawford leading the way, Kanata in 2nd, Ethan Smith in 3rd, Reed 4th, and Crowfoot there in 5th. So great job for Crowfoot up to the 5th position. And then I even looked behind Crowfoot. You got the 14 of GT Rosari. He finished 2nd here the last time, folks, at Kansas. Don't count that 14 out. That guy is always good at this racetrack.
And also for that in 4th place, who just made the pass on Cody Reed, it's the 12 machine of Ryan Crowfoot. That is a driver that is almost in a must-win scenario already. With some of the poor finishes he had to start out this season and caught up in a lot of wrecks that unfortunately were not his causing. But this 12 needs a win either tonight or next week at Bristol for the cutoff race if he wants a chance to run for a championship. And the 12's looking good as we're 15 laps into this run. Try to put the pressure on our top 2.
Doing an excellent job right here, is he, Sam? Man, he's up to the 3rd position, making passes look easy. And that's when you know you got something working for you here at Kansas, when you can make passes when everybody's already moved up to this top groove, because that's when it gets so tough. This is the line where the momentum's at. You have to go down low and find the way to get by him there, and he's done it on both those drivers behind him now. Can he go up to Kanata and Crawford here and do something similar? Will be the case. Is now even Kanata taking a shot down low. And if you're Kanata, you're going to try to do this at this moment, because right now you have the gap back to you to fall in line. If you got drivers stacked up right behind you, it's very tough to go down there and willing to risk that.
Yeah, it very much is, as we get on board and get a sense of what it's like for Joshua Kanata. Still running with the VR system, as you can see on the bottom right. focusing up. The VR system gave a lot of troubles to the 16 in the beginning of the season, in the midway point, and now he's hoping that he can continue to run strong as Christopher Norris gets a little bit wiggly there for the 38 as the leaders drive on by. And I mean, Zach, this is questioning with the amount of drivers caught up in that initial wreck and being so off the pace. Now it's tricky for lap cars to figure out where to place themselves.
It really is going to be tricky here as the next 2 laps click away for sure, because the more it moves to the top side, a lot of times as a lap driver, you try to get up to the top, let the drivers go by on the bottom. But as the groove has moved up there, you kind of got to notice that as a driver and keep yourself down low here. And that's what Christopher Norris was doing. But Nick Crawford and Kanata were both trying to go around the 2 of Danny Cochran, who was up top. So it kind of made one of those tricky situations where you have 2 different lap cars in 2 different spots, and they kind of shot the middle of them. So it's going to get tricky with how slow some of these lappers are. I mean, the 2 and the 38, their pace right now, I mean, they're running about 40-second lap times compared to 32 from our leaders. That's 8 seconds a lap time difference. That's going to look like you're driving by a car that's standing still.
Very much so, but a driver that is not standing still but is moving up quickly. GT Irizarry, you threw it out there. Zach finished second the last time these drivers were here back in season 2. And the driver that beat him, not out there anymore. Anthony Gaudio stepping away this season. But this the 14 machine looking strong here tonight, based off of his just staying consistent. The long run pace is looking good for GT as he started out a little bit deeper in the field in 18th position. He's up 12 spots. And right now, one of our bigger movers up inside of the top 10.
And the one thing he's doing different, if you all can notice it out there, folks, he's on the bottom groove. He's looking to make the speed down there, and if you can make speed there, it gives you the opportunity to make passes. So that's a cool sight to see for the 14 at Irizarry there. But we check out the 8 and the 91. Martin Morales having an excellent run. These drivers, too, all running the bottom. So the farther back we've had some different changes of mindset for how to run this racetrack. And this could be a little bit of a game here to try to make sure they save those tires, or they just feel more comfortable on that bottom groove.
I think also it could be a factor of just trying to survive at this point. I mean, for that of Noah Steele, he's got a completely different mindset than that of Mark Morales or even Malik Kuntz, who, for that of the 91, just trying to continue to run well here tonight, not battling for a championship. He's back in 25th position in points and just looking for a solid run. And then behind the 91, as they're trying to get by that of Zach Peterson, who's good to see him back racing. Sadly, he was caught up in that first initial wreck, but that of the 98 behind, Malik Kuntz trying to have his best run of the season, which for that of Malik, his best finish this season, 18th place, but he has had top 5 speed all season long. It's just been terrible luck, and as well putting himself in back positions that get him the poor finishes.
It really has been. It's just been the tale of 2 different races for him. It's, one race, but it's like 2 different halves that play out for this 98, and it just seems to never work out for him. So he's going to have to definitely figure all those mistakes and woes out and not get caught up in people's incidents, and maybe he can convert some of these good running orders early in these events. And we'll see how it shakes out for him, but at the time being, it's looking good tonight. Fingers crossed nothing goes wrong for that 98 machine. And you even brought it up, Sam, they're kind of less risk running that bottom groove, and I completely agree with that also, because when you're up top, you're flirting with disaster with that wall. All it takes is you to get in that corner a little too hot, getting the gas a little too early, and you're quickly into that wall. Running that bottom groove, though, it gives you so much more room to react if you do make a mistake.
I mean, we talk about Malik Kuntz's woes that he's had. Here's another driver who's had a lot of woes, and it's been trouble with the leaders. That is Cody Smith. The last time we were at a true mile and a half was back in Chicagoland, where he gave us excitement of being one of the lap cars that our leaders used as a pick, but he has had trouble of trying to stay up front. His best finish for the 7 is that of 23rd position back at Port Royal, hoping for a good run. Here's Justin Smith, though, in the 6 machine, who's, again, I feel like it's the same story for a lot of these drivers from that of 8th on back. It's just we're looking for one of our best finishes of the season because of the amount of drivers and top-tier drivers that were taken out so early.
Completely agree with you there, man. I mean, it's opened up that door, and that's what you got to take advantage of sometimes if you're a driver. Is you may not feel comfortable, you may not feel like you have the speed to run in the position you currently are, but when that door gets opened up with so many drivers getting knocked out early and having to completely retire from the race, or drivers out there still slowly competing in their trucks that are hurt, you have to take advantage of these things because every single point will matter for trying to make that top 16, get into that playoffs, and go fight for a championship.
Well, if you're just joining us right now, you are watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Currently on screen is the battle for 11th place with the 7 of Cody Smith, Justin Smith behind him in the 6 machine, and Tyler Dangler, Jesse Dornick in the mix. As we are 47 laps into our 150 for tonight. They do have a stage break for these drivers. It is at the end of lap 60 where the top 10 will be getting bonus points for themselves. And for tonight's race, we had a catastrophic wreck back on lap 18 where we saw front runners that were battling for the lead, taking each other out of John Forbes and Cedric Hunter that collected a wide range of other drivers that have put a majority of around that of 13, almost 14 drivers caught up in some big wrecks that are dealing with some terminal damage for some, others extremely underpowered as the battling for that of fourth place getting a little mixy with Ethan Smith, GT Rosari, and Cody Reed here as GT has been on the move but only had that one caution, major wreck, but it's changed up everything here tonight as it has been a good one to cover so far. But Zach, final push to the stage break as some of these drivers needing some massive points.
Massive points needed all around, and here comes GT Rosari, like you said, trying to make the pass here for 4th and 5th. The tough thing for him is going to be right now is that draft up top is going to take away a lot of the momentum that he carries to the corner, and he is able to, really actually roll the corner better than the drivers up above him, but they have that draft on the straightaway and the momentum from the top able to hold them off. So GT's got to figure this out here, how to get around him, and you got 2 teammates. That's going to make it even that much more tough. Is he able to pull along the side again, the 00, but just again, down the straightaway, that momentum, the draft, everything playing out better for the outside line.
It's always good to have a friend, and that's what we're seeing right now with Ethan Smith as he's out his teammate of Cody Reed behind him. Ethan Smith, GT Rosari, both drivers looking for their first win this season. 14 still is not able to find any opening at this moment, and he's going to need a mistake by that of the 25 of Cody Reed to find some type of an opening for him to slide in between, get a better run. This is the best bomb move that we've seen so far by the 14, but just not close enough. And it's the same story once again, side by side, not able to climb his way forward. But as this continues on, 10 laps to go. At this moment, the 14, all he needs to do is just make sure that he's a nose ahead when they come across the line and that stage break yellow comes out.
Completely agree with you there. That's all that matters for that stage, as long as you're a nose ahead. But for the 4, what he's got to do is he's got to hope for that 00 have to lift. He's got to hope for that 00 to get a little tight in the entry of one of these corners or on the exit and have a little bit of a bobble that will allow him to slow up that top line for him to be able to pull even with that groove. And if he's able to enter turn 3 and 4, in my opinion, dead even with the 00, then he has a good shot at clearing that 00 on the exit, because he's had a lot of speed on that bottom through that corner, but it just seems like through 1 and 2, that top side is just such a big advantage.
Massive advantage at this time, and they continue to hold steady with where they're at right now. For our leaders, though, Nick Crawford been able to space himself away from that of Joshua Kanata. Kanata still just trying to run well. One of the top runners of Rookie of the Season is the 16. Ryan Crowfoot going to be in 3rd place, the 12 hoping to get his first win. But Nick Crawford, Zach, coming off of last week at Fuji, had the duel between himself and Trenton Jump. 74 has got to be feeling good on the fact that he's leading this race, even with all his competition kind of disappearing. But he's got to make sure that in his mirrors, the 77 of Mark Whitley, just wait for that stage break.
That's who he's got to worry about for sure, because I've even been watching lap times. Mark Whitley's running about the same lap times as these guys up front, and it was even quicker the time before than Nick Crawford and Kanata. So it just shows you that Whitley does have it figured out for the longer run. So if he's able to get some track position back, he will be right in the mix again, back up here battling. But a track position is hard enough to gain. You're going to have to do it very quickly when those first opening laps happen, because that's really the only time you have to make those moves on the bottom, in my opinion. As when it gets up to this top side, it really comes down to being able to not make mistakes at that point. It's just kind of processional. So we'll see how it works out, because you can see Nick Crawford starting to open up a little bit of a gap here to Kanata, as that dirty air, I think, just playing such a huge factor right now.
Well, let's take a little bit of a ride here with our leader of Nick Crawford. Seeing the hands, how smooth is he going to be on the straightaway? Going to be getting by that Christopher Norris as he goes into the corner, already wiggling those hands, trying to get it centered out. But Zach, that is a lot of movement we're seeing, trying to keep that thing stable through the corners.
It really is, and that's kind of what you fight with that top side all throughout the night, is fighting the line of trying to make the truck turn, but also not make it turn too much. So you have to have those small micro adjustments and those perfect little movements back and forth to keep that truck perfectly in line. And Nick Crawford right now doing an excellent job of it and continuing to open the gap. And it just shows you, you're never just turning the wheel and having that wheel set there and keeping it there. You're always working the wheel, always trying to find that edge on the grip level. As now we're going to check out Kanata. As you can see, Crawford getting smaller in that front windshield, but this is where it's tougher too. He's falling in that turbulent air on the outside, and it's much easier for him to just go into the corner a little too deep, lose the nose, and it washes out, and he's into the wall so quickly.
So right now we're seeing that at 16, very different image. He's going with the more so of hold steady with the steering wheel, pick a spot and work with it. As Nick Crawford, on the other hand, almost immediately when he enters, he's working on those small adjustments like we were noting on. A little bit of one there, but 16 looking like he's holding the line, and he just continues to hold steady. I mean, that is two completely different ideas on how to tackle these corners.
It really is, and I think a lot of what that factor comes even down to is the balance of their trucks are probably completely different. What we mean by balance out there, anybody who's newer here to iRacing or racing, is that is what your truck is doing handling wise. Is it tight? That means the nose is pushing out towards the wall, wanting to go out and hit the wall. And if it's loose, the rear end's wanting to kick out towards the wall, and the nose is wanting to go down the racetrack. And I think that's what Nick Crawford is fighting right now. He's a little bit free, personally, from what I'm watching with his hands. So that nose is wanting to turn freely, go down to the bottom of the racetrack, and he's trying to float that wheel back and forth to keep it right on the stability line of not having a big slide. Whereas Kanata's in that dirty air for the majority of this run. His nose has been washing out that whole time, and that really can cause those feelings of that tight condition where the nose wants to push to the outside to the wall, and then that's where you'll see a smoother wheel, in my opinion.
Well, Nick Crawford, Joshua Kanata spacing out, and it looks like the 74 looking very comfortable on where he's at as he's closing in on the 15. That is going to be up Brooke, yes. Going to be seeing the 74 coming across the line. This is the white flag for that of the lap stage break. The drivers are heading into top 10 drivers, going to get bonus points. Winner gets 10 bonus points. Second gets 9. Third gets 8, and it continues to dwindle down until you get to 10th place, where right now it's John McAdams searching to take that one and final bonus point, which for McAdams, he's just going for one of his best runs of the season as the 74 comes across the line. Going to be your stage winner here as the Armadillas keep digging 225. We wait for the top 10 to cross the line before the yellow flag comes out, as that of John McAdams out of turn number 4. About to bring out the yellow. But Zach, what a run for our stage winner, Nick Crawford. Qualified second, kept his nose out of that big incident back on lap 18, and he is looking like the dominant force so far through stage 1.
He really, really is, man. This is a great sight to see for him after coming off a big moment at Fuji, getting that first one of the season. He's going to look to try to take it back to back here. And it's so tough to do here at ISRC with the competition they have, how stacked it is, with how close everybody is when it comes to week in and week out racing. If Nick Crawford can go out there and get 2 wins in a row, that'll make a good case for him heading into those playoffs to try to go back once more and get to that Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, trying to win back-to-back, something like I said, so difficult to do. We thought it was going to happen a lot more during Season 3, but it was not the case at all. Really, I don't think we've seen a back-to-back winner since maybe Season 2. And Nick Crawford, he is coming in as one of the drivers that potentially has a chance, but he has to watch out for Mark Whitley back in 14th, as well as some of the other drivers that decided to save a set of rubber for this upcoming run. Will we see another big one? Let's find out as drivers get ready for pit stops. And Zach expecting 4 tires in fuel, but here they come. What mistakes could be made or big gains as they enter pit road?
That is the key. Pit road is a place where you can lose and gain big time here. Mistakes are prevalent to making sure you don't make them, because they can quickly take you out of the conditions. Because we've seen track position is huge. Now getting into the boxes here, you can't slide too far forward or be too far back, because those could be critical seconds you give up to the competition.
into their pit boxes. Everyone's looking pretty stable in the way that they're entering into their box. 74 looks to be good. Here comes Mark Whitley a little bit deeper in the field. He's going to be a driver to watch out for once we go green. See those left sides pop up, about to be taken off, and here we go. Nick Crawford easily going to be keeping himself in that lead position for himself here, as 74 just looks so competitively strong at this moment. Our winner from last week at Fuji, as he gets himself out there on track. We're going to see if we can pull up the 74 as our stage winner, because it was a dominant run. Didn't have too much competition. Got to see that Joshua Kanata and a few others. But let's bring in the 74, see if we can get him on the radio. Nick Crawford, you there?
Hi, guys.
Well, Nick, congratulations. You are the Laugh Lap stage winner here tonight at Kansas. I mean, it looked pretty easy from where we were at, but, man, how was it out there on track?
It was weird. The beginning of the run is always just a battle with the person behind you, because the draft is so strong, and you're just trying not to let them clear, and if you can just hold them, it's great. The middle run got really spooky loose, and then towards the end it got real comfy like, and I was just driving away and just chatting with the guys in the Discord, so it was pretty comfy.
Well, Nick, it looked, like you said, pretty comfy out front. We got the ride on board with you there as you were working the wheel. How crucial do you think that clean air is going to be here for the last majority of this race?
Oh, it's very important with this package, with this track. If you can get to the clean air, and if you can hold the person behind you and just hold that high line, you can almost make sure that they don't clear. And they're going to use up a lot of tire trying to do it. So, like what happened with Josh there. So I think just staying out front is important right now.
Well, Nick, we know that it's going to be important to keep that clean air. We hope for the best of luck for yourself, and we hope to be talking to you at the end of this race.
Hope so, too.
Well, we'll send you back to your team. Good luck, Nick, as that is going to be the 74 machine of Nick Crawford, a winner of our stage here tonight, as he is a driver from that Snowy Desert Racing team. And Zach, I went back to look. It was season 2. We got to see our last two back-to-back winner. And it was a driver that actually won at this track. It was Anthony Gaudio that won back at Kansas and then Richmond. And that same season, we also got to see a driver win 3 races in a row. That was John Forbes, who won at Michigan, Bristol, Dirt, as well as regular Bristol. So little fun facts there for the history back in season 2. That certainly a lot of magic was made for some of those drivers.
Yeah, that's a really cool stat to hear, man, because it just shows you, I mean, when you don't have back-to-back winners for a full season, and now even this season hasn't had happened yet, shows you how tough it is to do here at this truck series. It's just seems like week in and week out there's a new driver to beat, and that's what makes it fun here for Monday nights, coming back and watching who can go out there and master that track for that night. And yeah, I mean, I look back to Anthony Gaudio. I mean, that was right before the playoffs, and he was the driver to beat kind of after winning those 2 races in a row. We were like, man, this is going to be the guy to watch. Had to miss those playoffs. So it just shows you how fast things can turn. But if you're Nick Crawford, this would be a big momentum swing into that 74 camp.
Well, the driver's ready. They're stacked up and waiting to get those lights off. It's Nick Crawford, Josh Kanata, Ethan Smith going to be your top 3, with that of Ryan Crowfoot, Cody Reed, Malik Coates going to be in that 3rd row, with Mark Morales Jr., Jesse Thordock, Mark Whitley going to be in the top 10 with Justin Smith. But we are down to just that of 22 drivers on the lead lap. Eric Stamp getting that lucky dog. We'll be back on the lead position. We have lost over 7 drivers here tonight after that first caution on lap 18. Those drivers that have been lost and are calling it an evening. That is Zachary Peterson, John Forbes, Trenton Jump, Ryan Ferraro, Cedric Hunter, Austin Halsey, Joshua Altus, and as well Ali Fonseca. 33 drivers entered, and only that of looking to be here, Zach, of just 22, maybe even just maybe 16 that are in a raceable shape to try to go for a win.
Big incidences cause big pileups, and when it happens from the lead spot too, it has the ability to collect more of them. So That is what we saw there, folks, and it's definitely piled up some good names and some good trucks into the DNF column that could have had a shot here tonight, but now it's opened up that door for other drivers to come out here and get some solid points here at the Kansas Speedway.
Well, the lap stage break is coming to a conclusion. Go head over to Instagram at _lap_lap to get your quality memes, as well as posted daily and multiple times a day. Get your good laughs with racing experience mixed in between at the Lap, as we are back to green flag racing. The Armadillas keep digging. 225 here at Kansas. Nick Crawford does not want to stay side by side. He is already pulled away as Joshua Kanata just settles in second.
Big moments right here. This is where everybody goes back to the bottom to make the speed. And who is going to be able to fight the strongest here to hold on to that track position? We heard Nick Crawford talk about it. Track position is everything. How hard is he going to be willing to race here with this 16 and the rest of them to try to hold on to that track position?
We also got a mixed bag of drivers that decided not to take tires under that first yellow, so they took majority of that stage on one set of tires. They're now going to get their taste with some fresh rubber and trying to march their way forward. Gonna be first in 77, Mark Whitley, but he's still in 10th place, needing to make some big moves at this current time. Some other drivers that are also trying to make some big moves. Logan Breaking back in 12th. He is hoping for some decent runs as we're seeing drivers side by side. It's going to be Joshua Freed as well as Dakota Moniz trying to hold steady in that 13.
Moniz has had some big momentum through the last few weeks. We'll see if he can continue that over here, but the side-by-side racing right here, he's going to get the draft in the 47 to see immediately he pulls down and that 5 truck goes forward. It just shows you how powerful that slipstream and draft can be here in these boxy trucks that really punch a huge hole in the air. And with the lower horsepower, it's all about drag reduction for them. And right here, even again, the 47 giving the draft to the 5, but the 39 fighting hard and strong on that middle groove.
Doing a great job. He's maybe not sponsored, but that 39 of Joshua Freed, it has been a recovery run since race 1 of this season where he was caught up in a lap 1 wreck that took away any chances of even getting points for that race, as he continues to try to stay just outside of our top 10. Inside of our top 10, though, for 7th position, it's Justin Smith, Malik Coates side by side, as the 6 machine is all right holding where he's at. And as it's 6, able to try to pull away from the 68 behind them in their mirrors. It is a madhouse as the 20 machine of Jesse Thornock, he is going backwards.
Jesse Thornock is definitely going backwards. He's got passed by Mark Whitley, Logan breaking out the 47. McAdams is even trying to make the move on that 20 machine back here around the 11th position. And like you said, somewhat of a madhouse there for position. So it just shows you here, you got to get them while you can, because once it moves up to that top side, it just becomes so hard to pass that I think you're seeing a lot of guys get a little bit of desperation here built up and say, man, I have to make the maneuvers now.
And as well for our leaders, they're going to be side by side, and they're coming up to a very complicated situation because they're coming up to lap traffic. And it's the same scenario that they had before. Christopher Norris, Danny Cochran, going to be staying high. Nick Crawford's going to be taken in the middle. Danny Cochran's going to be on that upper lane. They hold middle once again. Is the 74. And here's the run. It's Nick Crawford trying to solidify for the lead. But seeing the lap traffic as slow as they are, they have to stay out because their engines are still allowing it. But lap cars, Danny Cochran and Christopher Norris, certainly going to be a scare every single time our leaders have to go by them.
It is such a big difference. I mean, it's sometimes, you know, you have slow trucks out there that are hurt and they are, you know, trying to limp around, but they are to the extreme limit. I mean, if this was a real NASCAR event, there would be a minimum speed, and I would doubt they would be making that minimum speed. And that's there to, you know, keep everybody safe. And luckily for everybody, you know, Norris and Cochran there are both doing a pretty excellent job of just holding their line. They're not making a lot of erratic maneuvers. That allows people to judge where they're going to be when they get to them. But still, that just discrepancy in speed can make a lot of bad things happen very quickly.
That it certainly can, as Nick Crawford, Joshua Kanata, as well as Ryan Crowfoot going to be up front in our top 3 as they try to hold in their positions. Behind them, though, for 4th place, Mark Morales Jr., 5th position, side by side with that of the Blackjack drivers of Ethan Smith and Cody Reed. Mark Morales comes in tonight 25th in points. He needs a good points day, and if he somehow gets a good points day and wins, he could be punching his ticket potentially to be going to the playoffs. In 91, the last time he was in a situation like this, he was caught up in a wreck where it took out his way of finishing in the top 5. Tonight could be that changing factor as the 91 moves up to 4th.
Great job by Martin Morales there to make that pass. That is excellent work from the 91 team, and it's going to be maybe the best run of the season for him here at Kansas. And that's, like you said, 25th points. He's going to need that. So great to see for the 91 team as he's made it up to 4th and gotten past Ethan Smith and Cody Reed. And even the 6th of Justin Smith, he's coming up into the picture. You also got the 98 of Malik Kuntz, and then about a second back from them, you got a Mark Whitley. So this is a great group of trucks right here that all can mix it up here farther as this run goes on.
And as we were talking about this group, a little bit of fluctuation for our leaders as Josh Kanata was trying to make the pass, wasn't able to do so. Nick Crawford just has been doing a textbook strategy of holding his position as the dad Justin Smith trying to make the pass, and Malik Kuntz just figuring out which lane he feels like he needs to be in. It's going to be moving forward.
Malik Kuntz is trying everything he's got in the wheelhouse here to make things happen, but Justin Smith right here not able to get it done, so it's going to stack up the 98. He's got to pick and choose now. Where do you go on that racing surface to try to make that maneuver? Do you follow the 25 up high, or do you go back to the bottom like this 6 machine is doing here? And that's going to be what's going to make this all so tough.
As our leaders go by lap traffic once again, that of Christopher Norris and Danny Cochran down low, forcing everyone to run the middle groove. As Cody Reed going to be following suit, and as we were watching that great battle, the battle for the lead, talked about Nick Crawford's masterclass of defending, take it back, Kanata to the lead.
Yeah, that was a tough situation. Kanata really drove it in the time before, cleared the 74. He crossed him over, passed him back on the bottom side. Then they were side by side coming off a 4 with the 16 getting a good run. That allowed the 74 to try to fight for the position, but instead of doing what the 16 did and holding it on the door of the 74 went to the wall. And I think that was a misstep. I think you want to try to stay as close to that truck down below you as possible. And you can see right now Kanata has took advantage of it. He's got the clean air for this run, and I think this is going to be the crucial pass if we come back and stay green here for a while. We're going to look back and say this was the pass that allowed Kanata to control this race.
Halfway throughout this race as drivers into the second half, Joshua Kanata trying to defend, as we talked about in the first half of this race, the beginning portions. You want to defend the outside lane, and Nick Crawford trying his best, but aggressive pinching from Kanata to keep that positioning, and it's just going to allow more drivers to close in on this battle with how aggressive they're being right now with these pinches.
It does open that door up, Sam, for people to close in here, and also it opens up the door for them to burn up some tire here a little bit and make them struggle a little bit more as this run goes on. So tough racing, but I think if you're Kanata, that's exactly what you got to do. I mean, if you see that 74 go to the inside, you put it on his door. You do not allow him to clear you, because clearing is the key factor, because then you'll have the outside for the next corner, even if you get to that person's outside, and then they put it on your door. So it's one of those things is you got to pinch or you get pinched. So it's one of those factors that plays out like this. And right now, I think Kanata's put a master class as we're watching this action back here with the 12 of Thornock and the 11 of Breaky, our winner from Kentucky earlier this season.
And just looking through these drivers, I've been just so confused on where is that a GT Irizarry. He was one of the drivers on the move to put himself up front and challenge for a win. Well, here is the 14 machine in 15th place, but it's the rear bumper absolutely destroyed after contact between himself and Noah Steele coming into pit road during our stage break that forced the 14 to have to stay in pit road for an extra 40 minutes, and it was a lot of drivers not slowing down into pit road. Other drivers got caught up in that big mess. Cody Reed and with Noah Steele, it was the 8 and the 25 game major front end damage. It was that of the 14 that had to stay in pit road for extended time. That's forced him all the way back here in our 15th position.
Shows you how pit road can be a factor sometimes. Even not even making the mistake yourself. It's just contact coming down, getting slowed down for pit road speed. So tough break for GT Irizarry. He'll have to try to bounce back from it. The big thing for him is he's been very, very quick on the bottom side. So I think he'll have the ability to somewhat move his way forward as this race does clip away, but still that damage on the rear end is not going to be a good thing for that straightaway speed, with that rear spoiler having some damage.
Well, that's ready for laps into our 150. I think it's perfect time for us to step aside for these drivers as everyone's in line trying to figure out how do you prepare for the pit stop that's going to happen in about 25 laps. Well, for us, we're going to step away. You won't miss a thing as we go side by side for the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's the Armadillas Keep Digging 225 at Kansas here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Well, it's going to be right back in just a few moments. What a good one we've had.
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. It's race number 10, the penultimate race of the regular season. As tonight's race, the Armadillas keep digging 225 at Kansas. ISRC Truck Series is presented by Race Car Graveyard, the title sponsor since season 1. It has been great to have him here. If you want to start collecting diecasts, go to Race Car Graveyard on that of Instagram. As well as the stage break sponsor, the Laugh Lab. For quality memes on Instagram, go to the_laugh_lab for quality inputs and memes daily, multiple times a day. And the last sponsor, they've been sponsoring that of races and also the white flag. It's Larry Art Productions for that a variety of different great laps as well as great content. Go on over to Larry Art Productions. As we're talking about that, some drivers getting a little bit mixy. It's that of Ryan Crowfoot, Mar Morales making a little bit of contact up front as we keep our cameras here in the middle of racing for 10th place. But now the 91 under threat of one of the biggest ones of the night. It's Mark Whitley now making the pass for third.
He has been flying on the bottom too, and that is going to open up a lot of different opportunities for the 77. As you can see, he cleared that 91 with no issues. I mean, it was just all about pace there. And the 91 with the issues with him in the 12, that really slowed him down. That allowed Mark Whitley to get that close. And it's opened the door for the 77, who is looking much quicker than our leaders, and he's closing in on Kanata right now. If Whitley can continue to keep this pace up, he's going to have a shot for this win before this thing is all said and done. But as I say that, we are getting closer here, Sam, to those pit stops. I think lap 105, 106 is going to be right around the window for when these drivers may hit pit road.
And when do you come to pit road, or could we see a yellow? As there's a couple of drivers that are really on top of one another. Like we were saying, that battle for 10th place, there's still drivers side by side there, and a lot of drivers bouncing off one another in 12th place as Noah Steele, Jonathan Smith, as well as Joshua Freed, GT Rosari, they cannot get away from one another in the cluster. For now, that is 14th position. We're going to see a yellow. It's going to be from this group, and that is one of the more terrifying things, I think, for our leaders, for that of Nick Crawford, because I feel like for Crawford, he might want this race to stay green so it can become more of a strategy race instead of pure speed at the end.
Completely agree with you, because it has made things pretty mixy back here, and it could, if the strategy comes into it, it's going to come down to when you pit, and we could see the door open up for opportunities for a lot of drivers to take advantage of those pit sequences. And this group has been battling very tough as Irizarry is trying to make his recovery drive in the 14, still having trouble making his way through. But as we talk about this, the battle for second is starting to get on now, as Mark Whitley has caught the 16 of Kanata, and I believe in the next few moments he should be clearing him here. As you can see, the 77 on the bottom, no problems at all. He's to the lead, or second.
Here comes the crossover move, though. The 16 gonna have the run, gonna be throwing it down low. No, Mark Whitley throws it down the inside, cutting off any opportunity. And Josh Kanata has to stay on the upper group. Feels like that's the only way that he can keep minimum speed with Nick Crawford, our leader. Mark Whitley feels like he can search anywhere he wants as the first driver to hit pit road. Going to be the 91 machine of Martin Morales Jr.
And that is a huge head scratcher for me there, Sam, because right here is going to be complete lap 101 of this race for him. That's going to leave him with 49 laps to go in this event. You're not going to make it that far on fuel. You can only go about 45, 46 laps at most. That is an early pit stop for Martin Morales, that I think this could be trouble for that 91 who's having such a good run.
And another driver's into pit road, going to be that of Christopher Norris, who we talked about his minimum speed, how slow he was. Engine finally let go of the 38 machine. We've also talked about other drivers tonight with the big wreck that happened on lap 18 that wiped out over that of 13 drivers and forced that of 7 to call it a night early. We were talking about some of the drivers that had great opportunities, such as that of Kanata, Crowfoot, for them to continue on with their great runs. John McAdams. Well, one of those that we were really praising was Malik Coates. Well, under that of a commercial break, the 98 disconnected with packet loss. And Zach, that is a hard pill to swallow for a driver who once again was inside the top 10 and just the second half of the race completely off, and now is going to be finding himself finishing outside of the top maybe 25 as some drivers can get back out there on track.
all you can do is shake your head for that, because that's just a tough break once again from Elite Kuntz. I mean, excellent runs to the first portions of a stage and just not able to keep it up. But as we talk about that, the battle for the lead is on finally. Mark Whitley to the inside of Nick Crawford into one, and I don't think it's going to take too long. This 77 is just looking too quick for the rest of the field here.
As camera's showing, the chaos is going up in the middle of the field. But yeah, for the lead, they are still side by side onto the backstretch. It's Nick Crawford on the outside lane. Mark Whitley, who's been staying on the inside. He's been consistent and finally makes the pass clear. And the driver that faded to the back during that of stage one, because he was one of the few drivers decided not to come into pit road, now leads the way, gets back to where he was before. And Zach, this is terrifying if you're for that Nick Crawford and Joshua Kanata, because that takes away an opportunity for a win here tonight and tie for the most wins this season. That 77 wants to get win number 3 here this evening. It's still side-by-side action. This is for that of the drivers outside of our top 10. This is 11th, 12th, 13th, side-by-side, and to continue to duel it out are these drivers that are looking for some good points, and the one that needs the most of them, 15 to Matt Upbrook, sitting in wait.
Matt Upbrook definitely needs those points like you alluded to, and he's right here on the back end of this field here as they come through the tribal into turn number 1. And, you know, right here on lap 107 or 150, I think that pit window, it's open now. You can make it to the end of this race on 1 tank of fuel. But I think you're going to see a few drivers stretch a little bit farther here and try to see if they can have that tire advantage and maybe even catch a caution. But right now, first one of our top 3 to come in, Nick Crawford hits pit road. You can see Morales on the new tires just slicing and dicing his way through.
And for Mark Morales, he needs to utilize these fresh rubber because of how early he pitted. He needs to be far enough ahead to maximize that advantage that he wants to take for himself. As Nick Crawford, like you said, one of the top runners to come to pit road, I feel like this could be a big disadvantage for the 74. I get where he's coming from, trying to get, have a big enough gap over Mark Whitley and Joshua Kanata, hoping that maybe when the tires equal out, they won't be able to catch him. I feel like the driver that's got the best tires is the one who's probably going to win this race, as here comes another flurry of drivers into pit road. It's Kanata as well. It's going to be that of Ethan Smith, Justin Smith, Jesse Thornock, GT Rosari, and another wide span of drivers into pit road.
It's getting busy here as everybody's looking to make those pit stops, and I would not be surprised to see the 77 come down soon, but here he comes. Yeah, as I say that, he definitely does it. Woo, a little bit of sliding and drifting, but he gets it woed up just in time, and no black flags from our side, so he's good to go here. Just got to make no mistakes into pit road or into his box.
Oh, and a little bit of chaos coming into pit road as Danny Cochran's engine actually went while coming through that of while drivers are trying to come into their boxes. Tyler Dingler, Mark Whitley, they play a little bit nice as the 19 leaves pit road. Entering is going to be our pole setter, as still out there on track looking breaky, Joshua Freed, and that of Ryan Crowfoot. As Crowfoot has to be feeling so miserable on the fact that he was caught up with that little bit of contact between himself and Mark Morales. Here comes the 29 coming with a head of steam. Here comes Joshua Freed as well as the 12. They could not take it any further. And pit roads for all of themselves as driver caught the black flag, going to be that of Tyler Horn in the 26.
Big mistakes there from him, but we'll see if he gets something to bail him out from that mistake possibly here later in this race, as he is 3 laps down, so he's in a tough position already. But look, here's Martin Morales in the 91 machine. He has jumped Nick Crawford by about 1.5 seconds here, so the gap is not gigantic for Morales, as now he does take over that lead position. And the biggest concern for me from Morales is he just is not going to have the fuel here, in my opinion, to make it to the end of this race. I really feel for Martin here if he's just slightly miscalled this last pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to save. Some drivers that made it as far as they did were able to go about 48 laps, almost 49. And for that of Mark Morales, he's going to have to push it around that marker as well, but he's not going to have the joy of having that of the draft to assist himself. But I think for the 91, could be a factor of trying an off strategy, not a bad one to take, especially in a driver that is in a must-win scenario and needs to have one of his best points days ever in his ISRC career.
Yeah, it's very possible that he still could make it. The only thing I'm concerned is his 49 laps were with caution laps involved. So he's going to have to save a ton here, in my opinion. He's probably going to have to stay on the bottom for majority of this run, not be able to slide up to the top group. But from what we've seen from Whitley, the top is not the best when it comes to that longer run. Mark Whitley was able to make the bottom work very well. I think it's because he was very, very patient on the tires. He didn't really push that car on the bottom, and it let it come to him. So we could see Morales here have to elect to run that bottom for the majority of the time, but as Nick Crawford's caught him, he's moved up to the top here, and it looks to defend the move, but I think it's just not going to be enough tire there because the difference between for the 74 and the 91 is huge.
Tried to pinch his way on the exit of the corner, but had to give space for himself to get a good exit out of turn 4. And Nick Crawford showing with the pace and the speed. He'll take the lead, but Mark Whitley, as the 74 was catching up to the 91, that 77 is lurking and closing in the gap ever so slightly. And with the amount of time that's left in this race, easily can make this charge to the end. As we're seeing that of the 74 doing his best, the 91 in second. It's now a cat and mouse game. Can the 77 catch up to our leader? As we're going to take our final break here. Drivers closing in on one another. Can't wait to see how this race is going to finish out as you are watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series. The Armadillas keep digging 225 here at Kansas. What a run it's been. We had a big one back in lap 18, but now it's the final push. Who's going to win here at Kansas? Let's find out as you won't miss a thing as we go side by side here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. With 30 laps to go, the pass for the lead is made. Mark Whitley with the tire advantage gets it done cleanly. A couple of scares there as we were giving you the coverage side by side. And as well, disappointment for some other drivers. Danny Cochran's engine went away in the middle of that pit cycle we just had, as now we are left with just the total of 22 drivers running this race out on track. We started with 33, but on the lead lap, only 20, as Mark Whitley looking comfortable, but Nick Crawford keeping in touch, as again, Mark Whitley with the slight advantage. Thank you for joining with us on your Monday night here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You're watching the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series here at Kansas. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. And Zach, Mark looks comfortable now. He's got that clean air. I mean, Nick certainly did put up his best effort to defend. But it looks like we're right back to where we were in Fuji, where it's Nick versus another competitor. When will Nick be aggressive, or will he have to just stay passive?
It's going to be tough. I mean, that clean air is so valuable. Whitley's got the 2-lap advantage over him on tires. I don't want to say it's over, because I never want to say that as a commentator. But this is a tough predicament if you're Nick Crawford to try to get back around that 77. What you're going to have to hope for is Mark Whitley burns his stuff up. That's plain and simple what you're going to have to really hope plays out here. And right now, Nick Crawford's being pretty aggressive with that bottom groove. I don't see his tires lasting very long doing that, directly following in the wake of the 77. So right now, it is a coin toss here for Nick Crawford of what to do, but he's going to have to try something, because this 77 looks lights out on the bottom, and it's been that way since really that stage break. He's just been moving forward here on this bottom groove.
Well, for that Mark Whitley, looking at this season, it has been lap traffic that's been one of his toughest things he's been having to deal with. You think back to Chicagoland, he had a big scare with that of Cody Smith. Smith's going to be on the apron, actually, as we talk about that moment, as he gets back out on track for the 7 machine, as he was dealing with some woes. But our leader is about to deal with some lap traffic. Here's 5th placed runner, though, of Ethan Smith. And Ethan Smith, I think what's crazy to think about, Smith at one moment was tied with like a 5-6 truck tie of having the most wins ever in ISRC history in the middle of the playoffs last season. And this 00 is yet to win. I mean, he is still searching for that first win this season. And right now in 5th place at this point, he is the highest points runner without a win right now.
And right here, Morales in the 91 machine, up still in the 4th position. The question for him is, can he make it on fuel? I think that's going to be the big thing that he needs to focus on here, is he's running that bottom continuously. That'll allow him to have the shortest way around the racetrack, which will shorten the distance and allow him possibly to save enough fuel. But for my hopes, I'm hoping this 91 can do it, because he definitely needs this type of run, and it's great to see him in this type of position.
And it certainly is. And then in front of the 91, going to be that of the 16 machine of Joshua Kanata. And Kanata coming in as a rookie. This 16 had some VR issues of being disconnected that took away a lot of good points that he wanted. He's the highest runner points-wise of all the rookies, and he looks pretty solidified to make his way into his first ever ISRC playoffs push. I can't wait to see what he's going to bring. I mean, the 16 machine, his best finish so far was back at Twin Ring of Motegi with a 3rd place finish. He's at 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s, excuse me, this season. This 16 is looking good, currently in 3rd place to try to tie his best finish so far this season.
I would not be surprised to see if he could possibly run down Nick Crawford also. He was a little bit better than the 16 on that last run at the very end. He got by, or the 16 was a little bit better than the 74, sorry, that last run. He got by the 74 late in the run. So having that 1-lap tire advantage, he may have the possibility to try and run down that 74 up ahead of him and get a top 2 positioning for him. But Kanata has just been on the fringe of getting that win, and at some point I feel like this season it's got to come.
I mean, he's at the perfect point of the season. We're now heading closer into the playoffs, where we've kind of had the last 5 or 6 races very much oddball racetracks for all these drivers. It started off at Watkins Glen, where we then went to Japan for the Twin Ring Motegi Oval Course. Then Darlington Auto Club was an opportune chance of a good finish. Port Royal, the dirt track race, and then back to road course racing. It has been a tough schedule. This upcoming one is when things get a lot more interesting with Bristol, Daytona road course, but then it's Homestead. Going to be the first round for these drivers at Daytona Road and Homestead. Second round of the playoffs going to be North Wilkesboro and Nashville Superspeedway. The final round, setting up our final 4, to be at Dover and the 2008 configuration of Atlanta before they go to Charlotte for the championship. This upcoming schedule looks a lot more of a regular schedule that these drivers are a lot more attuned to. With 20 laps to go, Josh Canada just needs to find momentum to set up for this final push here in the second half of the season.
I'm interested to see how these next few races play out. Bristol, you know Bristol. It's a coliseum for a reason, and it always sets up a good show, in my opinion. So I'm very much intrigued to see how that plays out. But Daytona road course, with these trucks, I've never seen a race there in them. I've only seen the Cup cars go around that racetrack, and I think personally that could be a good one. That's a good little road course. Got some technical bits and pieces to it, so these drivers are going to really have to show that prowess once again, as we just came off of Fuji. But we get to see a good little battle here. It's the recovery still from GT Irizarry after that contact on pit road. Still trying to recover from that, and he's got Noah Steele directly ahead of him, and both of them on the same set of tires coming down pit road at the same time. So this is an even battle right here.
These are the two drivers that actually made contact with one another. As you can see, the front end damage on that of the 8 of Noah Steele, as that front center crinkled in. The rear bumper of the 14 is the damage, as a lot of drivers just unaware of their stage break when they ran into one another. But man, battle for this 10th place, trying to hold steady as we are coming down to the final stages of this race. Other battles that are going on track. Some drivers having their best runs here tonight. Mark Morales, one of those. But here is the 20 machine. It is Jesse Thornock. His best finish this season so far was 16th all the way back. It's race number 3 at Chicagoland. But here tonight, he is running well in 7th position, and he is challenging Cody Reed, who also got some front-end damage from that Noah Steele and GT Irizarry situation that is allowing the 20 to have this fight.
You love to see it. Jesse Thornock having a great run, man. And right now, battling for a top 6 position. And if Morales was to come to pit road for fuel, then Thornock would be sitting in a position here to possibly get a top 5. This could be a top 5 position when it's all said and done if the 91 doesn't make it on fuel. So, man, oh man, what a run that would be for the 20 team.
And for this 20 team, career-wise, he's had that of, counting tonight, 31 starts. His best ever career finish was that of 8th place all the way back in season 1 at Talladega. It has been a tough run these last couple of seasons for the 20, and he's hoping that it's going to continue forward. As here's the 6th machine of Justin Smith, who could try to rain on that parade, as the 6th machine also trying to go for at least a tie in his career best. For his season best here tonight, as the 6 finishes in 6th place. That'd be tying this season's best finish for himself. That was only back, again, a lot of Chicagoland was the best finishes for a lot of these drivers, and this 6 is looking good, even on the slightly older tires than Cody Reed, the same set of tires as that of Jesse Thornock.
He is looking very strong. His lap times here a little bit better than both the drivers up ahead of him. Able to run that bottom groove too, so he can make some time down there and utilize that to make these passes here. But Thornock's trying to hold on the best he can here with the tires he has, and like you said, even to Justin Smith, but maybe Smith has just saved that little bit more. And then even they got about a second back to Breaky, so this isn't over for this battle. Is the 6 tight there, has to lift, and the 20 holds on for now.
Holding on for now, as Jesse Thornock, for the longest time, he was known as a start and park driver. Justin Smith has been caught up in so many different issues. If you look back to last season for the 6 machine, where he was just struggling to have good finishes inside the top 15. Here tonight, 2 drivers looking for some good runs this evening, as they are having their bickers on where to go. The battling for 10th place also finally going to be having a driver conquering in that aspect, as GT Irizarry has finally found his way past that of the 8 and Noah Steele. But now Dakota Moniz is starting to close in on those drivers. As talking about closing in, we are coming up to that of 12 laps to go, about to be 11 now, as our leaders are just continuing to run away. It's Mark Whitley now to almost a full second over Nick Crawford in the 77. As long as no caution flag comes out, looks to be in a steady place to win here tonight, get his 3rd season win here this evening, and continue to push out his career wins list, as coming in tonight had 10. He wants number 11 in the ISRC Truck Series.
It's been a valiant effort by Nick Crawford to try to fight back and gain some time on Mark Whitley, but Whitley's just been a little bit too good for him, because every now and then we'll see the 74 flash up a lap time faster than the 77. But it's when they get the traffic, the 77 has the advantage. He's able to go around the bottom much easier than Nick Crawford, where Nick Crawford's getting held up just a tiny bit, having to go down to that bottom lane where he just cannot carry the momentum that 77 is able to do. So we've seen, I mean, right here this last time by, Nick Crawford a couple hundredths faster than Mark Whitley, but he's going to need more than that coming down to the end here with 10 to go.
10 laps to go, and trying to close in the gap is that of the 74. Continues to be very aggressive on trying to push the limit on these tires that, again, 2 lap older than Mark Whitley. As they continue to make this push forward as aggressive as they can, lap traffic going to be trying to thicken up for our leaders as they're starting to close in on a pretty good cluster of drivers of Tyler Dangler, Jonathan Smith, and Jordan Schmeets. That's 17th, 18th, and 19th. That is just going to be about 3 seconds ahead of our leaders. And looking at the pace that we're going, could be in front of our leaders here in the next 3 to 4 laps.
We'll see what lane they pick and choose to use when the leaders get up to them. That could have a major effect also. And last 2 times by, Nick Crawford was quicker Mark Whitley. And my question is, I watched Mark Whitley that very last run before these latest pit stops. He went very, very, easy on the tires for the first couple laps of him. It was really like the first 10 to 15 laps. He kind of held back in 10th. Didn't really try to get a lot of speed out of it. But when he came out of pit road this last time with the 2-lap advantage, he went super hard and caught up to Nick Crawford and passed him super quickly. My question, did that do damage to the tires? Because the last 3 times by, Nick Crawford has gained time. But we'll see. The lap traffic could be the factor that comes down to separating these two.
It really could be. If you pick up and you get next to a lap car at a poor spot, you could be losing time. As these coming to 7 laps to go, as we are on 7 to go, coming up to 6 to go here very shortly. It's going to be Tyler Dangler in the 19. Now, lap traffic's been very vocal over the radio, trying to get where they need to go. Do you want me high? Do you want me low? And the leader, Mark Whitley, continues to tell the drivers, go high. I want the inside lane. And that's exactly where the 19 goes with the exit of the corner. This is where you lose the speed, Zach. And it's the worst timing you could find if you're the 77 who had to just slightly back off as he cut up the lap traffic on the exit of 4.
And it was bad timing, but at the same case, he was almost 3/10 faster than Nick Crawford. And the last couple times off of 4, I've seen the 74 just completely lose the nose of that truck. So I think Nick Crawford's, all his tires, they have done. They're pretty much overheated with the run. He was trying to charge back up on the 77, and it's going to be, at this point, down to Whitley just to try to hold on, make consistent laps here, because Nick Crawford, he has burned his stuff up, and it's now a 1.2 second lead, and now he's even coming up on his teammate Jonathan Smith here. This should be a nice and easy pass.
Smith going to be staying high. No need for radio over that of iRacing to let the driver go. They'll be talking over Discord with one another on where they want each other. Still side by side, so not the way that you want it, but yeah, talking about that nose being gone. You can see it here on the numbers. When they're in green, that means Nick Crawford's closing in. When it's in white, it means Mark Whitley is faster, and it really was just a 1-lap hurrah for Nick Crawford, and then it's just been downhill so much slower, as our leader still has 2 more drivers to get by. That's going to be Jordan Schmeets as well as Eric Stamp. They're going to be the next 2 drivers in line with 4 to go. Mark Whitley could make the decision just staying in line with their lap cars and should still be able to win as long as a yellow flag does not come out. He's looking for that white flag with 4, soon to be 3 to go.
He wants this thing to be white flag already, because he knows at that point he's just home free selling, and right now he's got to just navigate the lap traffic well. He's got the Forrest Schmeets right directly ahead of him. Then the next car would be the 53 Eric Stamp. Let's see what happens here. It's going to be Schmeets and Stamp. They're racing for position. So this is not what Mark Whitley wants to see in front of him. Is he's going to have a good run here off of 2, and he's going to maybe take it 3 wide.
Almost thinking about it, but Schmeets is going to have to back off. He'll get in line with 53 machine. As Mark Whitley dives down low. 3 to go, about to be 2 to go. And poor Mark Morales Jr., Zach, you touched on the fact that he was not going to be able to make it on fuel. He has to come into pit road with coming to 2 to go for the 91. He'll go a lap down in what should have been a good top 10, top 5 finish for the 91. He is going to most likely finish in the top 20, back in 19th as he gets off of pit road. Mark Whitley's past lap traffic, 2 to go as we hit the backstretch.
Such a tough break, man. You got to feel for that number 91 machine, as he was having such a good run, but just made the wrong call, pitted a little too early, and it's come back to bite him here as Mark Whitley looking for this white flag.
Mark Whitley seeing the Larry Art Productions white flag in the air. The 77 down into turn number 1. No worries of lap cars. No worries of a yellow. The white flag allows these drivers to take it to the end. And here we go, settling onto the backstretch.
One final time for Mark Whitley through 3 and 4, and he's going to be a 3-time winner this season. I mean, what a drive for him, especially after coming back for that stage strategy.
Well, he got his 10th win a few weeks back. We'll give him his 11th career win, his 3rd of the season. No longer going to be tied with the most wins this season. He is definitively the most winningest driver so far in the regular season with 3. And what a run by the 77. Went with the oddball strategy of not going for stage points. Didn't matter. He had the strength, the speed, and now the win here at Kansas.
Excellent drive from the 77 team. Man, it's hard to make up track position, but when you make the bottom work that well, when a lot of people are maneuvering to that top side, it opens up a lot of free track for you, and he just mastered it tonight. So congrats to that team, as he's going to go get his 3rd win of the season.
To get his 3rd win of the season, a great run for himself. Driver, though, that went with an odd strategy, and I think he might have ran out of fuel. GT Irizarry having issues on the exit at turn 2, went from battling for a top 10 finish, coming away 14 for the 14 machine, so tough night for himself. But for Mark Whitley, he gets to burn it down here tonight, as the 77 gets to have the joy of victory. We'll allow him to have fun with the smoke show, but when we come back, it's the post-race show. We'll talk to our top 2 and a spotlight driver and get you set up for the last race of the regular season next week at Bristol. Hold on, we'll be right back in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show of the ISRC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series here at Kansas. As the Armadillas keep digging 225, and certainly one of these drivers kept on digging. It was Mark Whitley in the 77. As we bring him up into the booth, we've got our winner with us. Mark, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. Man, what a run for yourself after having to go with the oddball strategy, not taking tires at stage 1, fighting your way up through the field and winning here tonight. Man, how are you feeling after that one?
Feels great that finally got a race that went green and was able to play out a little bit of strategy that we wanted. I figured past races around here, if you could run the bottom, you would be able to save some tires. So that was my strategy. Got the pole and I just kind of was running the bottom. They were getting around me at the beginning of the run, and I just was like, all right, I'll just sit here and save. And then the caution came out with 20 after 20 laps, and I thought that was too early to take tires, and I was really surprised as many people took tires as they did. And we went green after that till the stage, and thankfully the lap time, the tires kind of evened off, and right at the end of that run, right before the end of the stage, we were catching back cars that were blowing our doors off at the beginning. I think Brantley, my spotter, was keeping me tabs with the leader, and right at the end of that run, we were running faster lap times than the leader with 20 lap old tires. So I felt pretty good at that point. It was just about getting back up to the front and getting a long green flag run, honestly, because I think we had the secret sauce on the long run, and thankfully we got a couple long runs. I was able to pass Nick, and he once I passed him, I was able to put a little bit of a gap on us, and then was able to stay out 2 laps after he did, and that really helped, I think, because 2 laps doesn't seem like a lot, but I know with these tires, 2 laps can mean a whole lot. So I was able to push it that last run. I was pushing it a little bit harder than I had probably the whole race, and I was still able to. Once I passed him, he kind of stayed with me a little bit, and then I started like inching away. Then I tried to back it off a little bit and just manage the gap, and he catch me a little bit, and it was just kind of a seesaw, and we started getting in lap traffic, and I was just able to get through it better. And I think his car finally started to fall off. We just started gapping him, and last 5 laps of that race, I was just praying there wasn't going to be a caution, because I just knew. All right, I just knew coming off 4, coming to the white flag, there was going to be a caution, and thankfully the yellow flag didn't fly, and we were able to finish on the green and take home the 3rd win of the year. So it feels pretty good. Have a lot more momentum building up for the playoffs than we did last season. So hopefully that'll help us.
Yeah, Mark, congrats on the win, man. Great run here tonight, and great job getting back after having that different strategy. But kind of want to allude to that momentum. I mean, you won at Chicagoland earlier this season, now Kansas for your 3rd win. Both of those tracks being mile and a halves, and it looks like into the playoffs we have a good bit of mile and a half. So how confident does that make you feel heading into that?
This truck it's tricky on the mile and a half. So Kansas and Chicagoland are pretty much sister tracks. So there's a little bit more of a dogfight in that one with Noah, but I think it just suits my style. I know I've learned over the years how to save tires for the long run, and if we get a long run like that, I feel pretty confident we can, be one of the faster cars at the end of the run. Which, but I still feel like we have speed if we need to go, balls to the wall. We have the short run speed to compete with these guys. These trucks are so momentum based, especially at mile and a half. Like Kansas here, I mean, I only ran a couple laps of practice, but I imagine if you went wide open, you could probably go wide open here for 10 laps or more before the tires really start to fall off. So, I mean, it's such a momentum track. That's why a lot of guys are up there running the high side, and they were getting a little bit of a run off, but toward the end of the run, they were having to let off so much because there just wasn't that grip up there in the high line. And I was just able to get it back to the gas sooner on the bottom, and I really was able to nullify that run. So hopefully we can translate this to other mile and a halves. I'm not sure how much they'll translate because these are very different mile and a halves in my opinion. But we'll see. Hopefully we can maybe go in there and win 3 more playoff races. Hopefully this one is the one that actually matters.
I mean, Mark, you can tell how excited you are about this one after, when coming away with this win. Certainly an incredible one, getting that momentum builder towards the playoffs. But, man, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, got to give a huge shout-out Brantley, Harpoon Design, my sponsor. He does all the spotting for me on the race nights, which is almost every night of the week at this point. But so check him out at harpoondesign.com. He does some awesome work. He does just amazing work. And if you want to check out some of the stuff he's already done, he's got, I think, close to 2,000, 3,000 paints on trade and paint at this point. It's a ridiculous amount. So you can just go check out some of his work, or if you want to get something made for him, check out his website. And then another shout out to my family. I know my parents and my granddad, and they're all tuning in. I appreciate them always tuning in, and the support group, having them behind me, it's always fun. Whenever I mess up, they call me on it. Whenever I do good, they congratulate me. So I appreciate them being in my corner. And I guess final shout out to you guys for putting on the awesome broadcast. It's always fun to go back and watch y'all the broadcast after the race. This one will be a little bit more enjoyable than normal. So feel like we've finally got off the bad luck tonight. I think we had 3 straight finishes of 25th or worth. Then we won the dirt track. Then we finished 3rd at Fuji. Now we won this. So I feel like we're heading in the right direction here, building up for the playoffs.
And it certainly does. Well, that is your winner here tonight of Mark Whitley. Congratulations and good luck next week at Bristol. As we go from victory lane, let's go to second place. The driver who thought maybe he had a chance to get the win, but coming up shy, it's Nick Crawford in the 74. Nick, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
I sure do.
Well, a good points day for yourself. Didn't come away with the win, but man, how are you feeling after tonight's performance? Because it certainly looked like a strong one until Mark caught you there late.
I need to figure out what Mark has, because he came back with so much speed right before that pit stop. I think he was in the 10th at one point, and then suddenly he was second and he was passing me. And I don't know how many times or how much saving he did, but that was crazy. I don't know if he was running the bottom the whole time or what. It looks like he was, but I need to find out what he has to get better at these tracks.
Well, Nick, definitely he had it figured out for sure, man. I mean, how tough was it on that last run to try to decide where you were going to run? Seeing that he ran the bottom up there and passed you, were you kind of committed to the top at that point, or were you trying to just figure it out there at final run?
To be honest, I kind of gave up with about 20 something to go. Once he got past me, I knew he had like 2 lap newer tires, or like 1.5. I don't know what it really was. He had newer tires. He was faster overall, and I was kind of just settling for second unless one of those crazy late race cautions come out. I was working the voodoo magic, but nothing. But at one point, I went up high, and Norris was kind of semi-spotting for me. He said you were faster that time. I was like, oh, okay, let me keep doing that. And it just trying to get there, and then it just got so bogged down out of 4 on the high side if you got even a little bit loose, and then the lap cars weren't really helping that much, and especially when he helped his teammate, there was no way when he passed his teammate Jonathan Smith, there was no way I was going to get to him unless something crazy happened. And those lap cars, they were trying, but I knew he won the race. I was happy with finishing second.
Well, Nick, from tonight's race, we now head into next week. The race that you found yourself at victory lane last season, we're heading to Bristol. How are you feeling trying to set up and find the momentum? Because you've had some great runs here of late with your win last week, second place here tonight, going to a track that we know you can perform well at. How are you feeling with your chances trying to make that push and momentum for the playoffs?
I am going to be studying a lot of wreck avoidance. Bristol has always been a war of attrition. It's just being there at the end. That's how I got the win last time. If you're in the lead at the end, and it's really hard to make passes there like tonight. So just being there at the end, making the right calls. When do you get tires? Which way do you go? What lane? All that good stuff that's not going to be fun, but we're going to do it. But, we're in the playoffs, so we can go crazy with it next week, and hopefully we can get teammates into the playoffs as well. But yeah, just making sure you survive the race.
Well, Nick, congratulations on second place here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
As always, I got a shout out to my beautiful wife. It's a great day today. She got accepted into her master's program. She's going to school, gonna make crazy amounts of money for me. I can finally be a stay-at-home. Want to shout out to my teammates, even when they do get wrecked. They're always there, supportive. And then shout out to you guys. You always put on a great show. And of course, another shout out to Revline. Again, looking forward to the future with them.
Well, that is going to be Nick Crawford coming away second place here tonight. Congratulations on that. As good luck when you head to Bristol. As we go from second place, our spotlight driver doesn't seem to be here. So let's go on over to that of our results for tonight's race. It was certainly a good one overall. We got to see strategy be used, but a lot of calamity struck early here tonight. Drivers were stuck in the draft, stuck in packs, and they made a huge wreck on lap 18 that came out to about 14 trucks involved, 10 of them with terminal damage, as that stat being given by Joshua Kanata. But man, Zach, we're getting the results up. That wreck certainly changed everything here tonight.
Oh, it turned the race upside down. Took out a lot of good trucks. And I think it's what led to a lot of what happened. I mean, Mark Whitley, I'm sure, would have been a factor. Nick Crawford, Kanata, all these drivers in the top 3 would have been a factor. But it definitely had its shakeup.
As here is how it shook out at the end of the 77 of Mark Whitley coming with the win. Nick Crawford in second. Joshua Kanata going to come away with third. Ethan Smith fourth. Cody Reed, after some shenanigans at that stage break pit road, going to come away with fifth, with Justin Smith in sixth. A great finish for the sixth machine, with Logan Brakey seventh. That of Jesse Dornick, biggest mover of the day, up 25 positions. Started in last, gets the top 10 for the 20 machine. Noah Steele ninth. In 10th place, going to be Dakota Moniz.
And as you look through the rest of the order, some good runs for people. Joshua Freed there in 11th, McAdams in 12th, Upbrook in 13th, and that's runs they needed, because you look even farther, guys like Christopher Norris, 24th. He came in here in the cut line with only one race to go with Bristol next week in the regular season. It's going to make that cut line even closer. Even Cedric Hunter was up 15th in points. It's going to make this cut line super, super close. We head to Bristol, and then, I mean, it's Bristol, so you've got a lot of things to worry about heading into there if you're close to that cut line.
I mean, right now, Christopher Norris going to be shaking in his boots. He's going to be one of the drivers. Really, it's down to, with the fact that Cedric Hunter and Norris had those poor runs, drivers that needed good runs got those points. It's going to shrink up, make things more complicated, and it's going to Bristol. We heard about it. Nick Crawford even stated it. It's the survival aspect that drivers are going to be maximizing that of next week. Bristol being the cutoff race, going to be interesting overall. Who can survive? We've seen races where there was a one first lap giant wreck that collected over 16 drivers before Bristol. Will we see that calamity strike again for another season? You'll have to find out next week. But for here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got plenty of great other coverage throughout the week to give you. As for tomorrow night, it's going to be the Full Send Racing Series as they head to Charlotte for that of the Full Send Racing Series. Then on Wednesday night, it's the Wicked Racing Series. They go to Atlanta, the Super Speedway configuration. Then going to be seeing some short track racing on that of Thursday, as the Stars and Stripes head to Five Flags. Then more short track racing Saturday, IRP in the Next Gen Cup car, right before we get right back here next week. Bristol. I mean, Zach, we got a good short track little ringer that we're coming up to for here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
That we really do, Sam. It's gonna be fun to watch, because short tracks, man, they are just they're either love or hate for drivers, but I love them up in the booth personally, because they always add a different flair to it, and especially when you get the green flag racing there. I mean, sometimes they can be a little bit of a caution fest, and we don't want to see that all the time, but sometimes that does add those flair moments into it. But I do think we got some excellent ones coming up, and it's going to be a wild week here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And if you're a fan out there, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay tuned in with us for all that action heading up.
And as well, gonna probably announce it again even next week, the long run. I talked about it in the middle of the broadcast, where we got to cover the behind the scenes of their season 3 for the ISRC Truck Series. Well, season 2, going to be covering the playoffs for season 4. Already saw it here tonight, the drama, the flair. How much will there be showing next week at Bristol? Who will make the top 16? Who will make the playoffs? Can't wait for it. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer, and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us here just on your Monday evening. We'll see you tomorrow night as we get to see that of the Full Send Racing Series. How will they handle Charlotte? We'll be back tomorrow night. We'll see you then.